Hello everybody, welcome to the Analyst by Vajiram and Ravi dated 17th July 2026, where we would try to comprehensively analyze 7 articles in 3 different sections along with your daily mains answer writing program. In the analysis part, we will first have a comprehensive discussion with respect to the relevance and importance of BIMSTEC for India. Then in the second article, we will have a discussion with respect to the prevalence of child marriage in India despite legal prohibitions provided by the law. Then in the mains value addition section, we will have a look at some of the points related to biotechnology in India, which can be used in your mains answer writing. Finally, in the prelims pointer section, we will have a discussion with respect to 4 different articles from the special perspective of your UPSC prelims exam. Coming to the very first topic of today's discussion, the Bay of Bengal was once the center of trade, culture, and civilizational exchange connecting India with Southeast Asia. Today, it has once again become the world's most strategically important regions. However, the Bay also faces common challenges like terrorism, piracy, drug trafficking, illegal fishing, cyber threats, climate disaster, and geopolitical competition. No single country can tackle all these challenges alone. This is where the BIMSTEC assumes importance. It connects South Asia with the Southeast Asia, complements India's Act East policy, and provides for a platform for regional cooperation at a time when SAARC has largely remained inactive. Therefore, BIMSTEC is no longer an economic grouping. It is emerging as a pillar of India's regional and Indo-Pacific strategy. In this regard, we will see this article in the news which talks about BIMSTEC meet in Delhi, which says that India hosts the BIMSTEC National Security Chiefs meeting in New Delhi, where the member countries, they have pledged to strengthen cooperation in counter-terrorism, maritime security, and multiple other different fields. Now, why this is important for us? This is part of GS Paper 2 International Relations and also India's neighborhood policy. Clear? So first we'll move to the beginning that what BIMSTEC really is. What do you mean by BIMSTEC? It has a full form. It is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. BIMSTEC. It is technical and economic cooperation among the different countries which are part of the BIMSTEC. It is a regional organization connecting South and Southeast Asia. We have already seen this. When it was established in 1997 on 6th of June. So next year it will be, already I think it has completed 30 years. Clear? Next year it will be completing 30 years mostly. And it was done through Bangkok Declaration, where a meeting happened in Bangkok where it was decided. Then how many countries are member of it? All you guys must be aware there are 7 different members. Your India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. So 5 South Asian countries and 2 Southeast Asian countries, which is your Myanmar and Thailand. Clear? Headquarter is in Dhaka, Bangladesh, the capital of Bangladesh. Together, these 7 nations, they represent about 1.7 billion population, which is 22% of the entire world's population. And they have a combined GDP of roughly around 5 trillion. Although India has a major share within this entire GDP, but this is what this group BIMSTEC represents. Now, why BIMSTEC is important for India? What is the relevance of BIMSTEC? Why we need BIMSTEC? First is it is a bridge between South Asia and Southeast Asia. It connects the South Asian countries with the Southeast Asian countries. Now, the Southeast Asian countries have their ASEAN as a grouping. South Asian countries have SAARC as a grouping. But SAARC, because of involvement of Pakistan, has been defunct from last many times because we don't want to be on any platform with Pakistan. That's why now we are focusing more on BIMSTEC as compared to SAARC. Connects India's neighborhood first policy with its Act East policy. We have an Act East policy where we want to integrate more with the Southeast Asian countries. We want to integrate with the supply chain, manufacturing, economy, people to people connect, everything with the Southeast Asian nations. Then it is strategically important in the Bay of Bengal. Bay of Bengal carries major global shipping routes and it is central to India's Indo-Pacific vision. Now, in the entire BIMSTEC, it revolves around Bay of Bengal. So, and Bay of Bengal has become an important part. Right now, somewhere here, we are again making Great Nicobar project. Now, Great Nicobar project lies at the mouth of the Strait of Malacca. And Strait of Malacca is a major choke point from where majority of Chinese trade happen. So in future, if we have any fight with China, we can have control over this particular area. So the entire Bay of Bengal in this perspective becomes a strategically important region. Then it is alternative to SAARC. SAARC is not functioning at this time. Unlike SAARC, BIMSTEC excludes Pakistan, allowing greater cooperation on the regional issues. Now it supports India's Act East policy, where enhances connectivity with Myanmar and Thailand. We have connectivity not only physical, that is by road and waterways, we are also having an economic connectivity with these countries. So more and more trade will be happening between these countries, India and these Southeast Asian countries. Then this BIMSTEC, it strengthens the neighborhood first policy of India, deepens engagement with Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal and Sri Lanka. These are small countries. We were also following the Gujarat doctrine in India, which says that we should work for our neighbors, smaller neighbors, and we should not expect anything in return. So it again strengthens our neighborhood first policy. It also helps us in maritime security, joint efforts against piracy, illegal fishing, maritime crimes in the Bay of Bengal. India is also the net security provider in the entire Indian Ocean region. So again, it strengthens India's Mahasagar vision of entire Indian Ocean. Then countering Chinese influence provides as an alternative regional platform amidst Chinese growing influence in the Indian Ocean through the Belt and Road Initiative. Now what China is doing, they are providing funding to every small country to make infrastructure, but that funding is unsustainable for those countries. Those countries initially they feel good that okay, we are getting too much of funding, we will be developing this, that infrastructure, but that is of not use there. They are not able to monetize that infrastructure and repay the loan. Ultimately, China captures that area then. So this BIMSTEC as a platform, it can provide as an alternative to the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. So not only BIMSTEC, India along with the other Western powers, they are providing multiple such platforms which are opposite of, or basically which are to counter the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. Then development of the Northeast India. Through this BIMSTEC, a lot of development can happen through the Northeastern India because the land connectivity happens only through the Northeast India. Kaladan multimodal transit project, but the only issue is that projects like these Kaladan, these are pending from more than a decade, more than 10 years. So they are still not complete. So Kaladan multimodal project is a transit project. Basically, it involves waterways through rivers, sea transport, and then finally road transport. Basically to transport goods from one place to another. Then your India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway. Again, this highway, the progress is not as good as it should have been in construction of this highway. Clear? So these are some of the important, you can say, importance of BIMSTEC for India, how BIMSTEC can help India in multiple ways. And most importantly, it can help in the development of the Northeast India. Clear? So this is the most important aspect of it. Then what are the areas of cooperation under BIMSTEC? What are the different dimensions which are covered under BIMSTEC that we'll talk about this, we'll cooperate on these issues and all this. First is your security cooperation, joint efforts against terrorism, organized crime, human and drug trafficking. Now you must be aware that this region here, we have golden triangle, or which is now called the death triangle, from where a lot of drug trafficking, synthetic drug trafficking happens into India. So that has to be curtailed. This is a major area of cooperation among these BIMSTEC nations. Then similarly, other terrorism, organized crimes, these happen. Recent BIMSTEC security chiefs meeting in 2026 happened because of this. You have maritime security cooperation on maritime law enforcement, search and rescue operations, and maritime domain awareness. Clear? And India, whenever there is a, let's say, natural hazard, a tsunami, earthquake, whatever, the Indian Navy is the first responder in that place. They go as soon as possible to help those countries. So it also strengthens all that. Then connectivity, India, Myanmar, Thailand trilateral highway, Kaladan project, it helps in better infrastructure development. So we cooperate on connectivity, cooperate on disaster management, joint humanitarian assistance and disaster relief guidelines adopted in the recent meeting. Then you have trade and economic cooperation between these countries, negotiations on the BIMSTEC free trade agreement. Just like India, USA are trying to sign a free trade agreement. India, UK have signed an agreement. India, European Union, India, EU are in talks of signing an agreement. Similarly, if India, BIMSTEC sign a free trade agreement, so the movement of goods will be almost free between these countries without any tariff. And similarly, energy cooperation, the BIMSTEC grid interconnection initiative. That means if, for example, right now the solar energy production capacity in India is very high. We are not even able to utilize the entire capacity. So a lot of plants energy gets wasted during the daytime when they produce. By making these types of international grids, we can transport excess electricity which we produce during the daytime to our neighbors. So we have cooperation among for security, for maritime security, connectivity, disaster management, trade and economy, and energy. On all these parameters, the BIMSTEC countries cooperate among them. Then what are the major challenges? What challenges does BIMSTEC face? First is slow project implementation, as I told you, delayed completion of connectivity projects like Kaladan, which has been delayed for more than a decade. You have political instability in countries like Myanmar, internal conflict which affects the regional cooperation. Now, Myanmar is ruled by the military right now. They had a democratic elected government a few years back, but now it is not. Then limited intra-regional trade. The trade among BIMSTEC members remains below potential, far below potential. In fact, the trade in the entire South Asian countries, that is much below what it should have been. Financial constraints, limited institutional funding compared to the ASEAN. Now, the funding provided for these projects is also very less in the BIMSTEC initiative. The ASEAN, the grouping of 10 member nations of Southeast Asia, they get a lot of funding. But the BIMSTEC is not as big a platform as compared to the ASEAN. So funding is less comparatively. Again, when the funding is less, it constrains some of the project implementation. Then China's expanding presence, growing Chinese investment in the Bay of Bengal countries. China is investing into Sri Lanka, the entire Hambantota, or you can say Colombo port, in Maldives, in Bangladesh they are investing, in Pakistan they are creating other port, in all the neighboring countries around India. You must have studied about the string of pearls policy of China, where they are creating infrastructure entirely around India. They are creating a string of pearls, a mala. जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं mala of pearls. And whatever infrastructure they are getting, they are calling them pearls. So that in future, whenever they have a war against India, they can encircle India from all the sides. And then you have institutional weakness, limited capacity of the BIMSTEC Secretariat, limited powers, limited funds, limited capacity to create the projects. So these are some of the major constraints among these countries, and sometimes the political inclination is also not together. A lot of neighboring countries in India, let's say or Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Nepal, frequent government changes are happening in these countries. Now, when frequent government changes are happening, the policy uncertainty comes to the fore. Now, one day some government is there which favors connectivity with India. Another day there might be another, you can say, government came up which does not like to have connectivity with India. So these issues then persist. Clear? So what are the other government initiatives which support BIMSTEC, which help or are in line with the BIMSTEC? First is your Act East policy, which strengthens engagement of India with the Southeast Asian countries. Clear? Earlier we had Look East policy in the UPA government times. When the NDA government came, the BJP-led NDA government, they changed it to Act East policy. Then you have Neighborhood First policy, enhances regional cooperation among the immediate neighbors of India. You have Mahasagar policy, mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across the region. Earlier we had the Sagar policy, security and growth for all in the region. Now we had Mahasagar. Further, we have enhanced the mutual and holistic advancement. Not only security, other aspects are also included now in this Mahasagar policy. And BIMSTEC lies at the forefront of Mahasagar policy. Then here, Indo-Pacific Oceans Initiative, IPOI, which supports regional maritime cooperation between the Indian and Pacific Ocean nations. Clear? So all these policies of India or the initiatives of the Indian government, they are in line with the BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC is also one of them. Moving ahead, what should be the way forward? How the relation should go ahead? How we can make BIMSTEC even more relevant? How it can be more useful to India, not only to India, but to the entire region, the South Asian region and the Southeast Asian countries. First is we have to accelerate the connectivity projects. We cannot keep on delaying these projects. India is notoriously famous for the delay in project implementation. A lot of African countries, they also complain that India announces a lot of projects, but when it comes to the implementation, they lag behind in that implementation. Your Kaladan project and the trilateral highway between India, Myanmar and Thailand, that has to be completed as soon as possible. Then strengthen maritime cooperation like joint patrol, maritime domain awareness and information sharing between the countries. You can have a common command center where all the information regarding different commercial ship movement and the naval ship movement can be tracked, or you can say shared between the partners. Then we can enhance counter-terrorism cooperation, real-time intelligence sharing among the security agencies of these countries. Now, this initiative right now, the security chiefs meeting, this kind of initiative is very good when it comes to these type of terrorism, drugs, and organized crime prevention. So you have a dedicated meeting for these issues. Expand economic integration, early conclusion of BIMSTEC free trade agreement. Now, everything follows after the economic things. If the economic integration between these countries will be very huge, everything will come in line. Better connectivity, better trade, better people-to-people relations, better cultural exchange, everything will follow the better economic participation by the countries. Understood? So this should be at the forefront of improvement. Then you strengthen the institutional capacity, like empower the BIMSTEC Secretariat with greater financial and technical resources. Fairly easy to understand, and promote people-to-people connectivity, that is academic exchange, tourism and cultural cooperation between the people. But right now what is happening, some countries like Vietnam, they are excellent in promoting their tourism. Now Vietnam targeted the Indian customers and promoted their tourism. Recently you must have heard the news also that 15 Indian people died in Vietnam when a boat capsized. Now a lot of, I think more than 5 lakh people from India, they visit Vietnam for tourism purpose. India does not lack avenues for tourism. The only issue is that first is our cleanliness. Our PM gives the slogan of Swachh Bharat, but not much is done on ground by the MCDs, even run by the BJP. And at the same time, second, we are not succeeding in targeting or promoting our tourism specific to certain people. We have mountains, we have beaches, we have forest, we have desert, we have water sports, or we have aerial sports, everything. But we are not targeting it properly. So these are some of the issues which have to be dealt in future. We have to promote academic exchange between our universities. We have to promote tourism by specifically targeting certain audiences, and we have to improve the cultural cooperation, because a lot of cultural significance is there. A lot of, you can say, Hindu temples are there in Southeast Asian countries, the common Buddhist culture, the common Hinduism culture. A lot of people residing in Southeast Asian nations, they are of Indian origin. Their ancestors are of Indian origin. So these people-to-people connect can be improved. All these are the way forward, how BIMSTEC can be made better. Now you guys have to write answers. Examine the strategic significance of BIMSTEC in India's Act East policy and Indo-Pacific vision. Also discuss the challenges limiting its effectiveness. Make sure you guys write the answer. Coming to the second topic of today's discussion, it is regarding child marriage in India. Now imagine a 15-year-old girl at an age when she should be studying in school, dreaming about her future or playing with friends. She is instead preparing for marriage and motherhood. This is the harsh reality of millions of girls across the world. Child marriage is not simply an early marriage. It is often marks the end of childhood, education, good health, and the economic independence of a girl. Now, India has made a remarkable progress in this, but still, yet we account one of the largest absolute numbers of child brides because of the sheer population size. Therefore, ending child marriage is not just about enforcing law. It is about ensuring education, empowerment, and equality to the girls of the future of India. In this regard, we will have a look at this article which says that in a boost to check child marriage, 5 alliances have been stopped through the court-induced injunction in a single day in Sikar, Rajasthan. Now what happens, despite legal prohibitions, child marriage continues to persist in several parts of India, particularly in the rural and socio-economically disadvantaged regions of India. Now, why it is important for us? It is part of GS Paper 1, Indian Society. Within is you have vulnerable section regarding children and women. Then in GS Paper 2, Governance and Social Justice, it is part of that also. Clear? Now, what is the current status of child marriage in India? The Prohibition of Child Marriage Act, this act which came up in 2006, it says that for any marriage, a boy has to be at least minimum 21 years of old and the girl has to be at least 18 years of old. Anybody below this age, if they are doing marriage, that is called child marriage. Clear? Girls up to 18 and boys 21 years. This is the minimum age of marriage. Then women married before the age of 18 years, it was around 47% in 2006 and it has been reduced to 23% in 2008. 21. So you can see this number by National Family Health Survey 3, it was 47%, and when the National Family Health Survey 5, it came in 2023, it has been reduced to 23%. Women married below 18 years of age. Clear? So we have made a progress. It has been almost halved, but still more needs to be. 23% is still a very large number. Clear? India is home to 223 million child brides. That means 22 crores child brides, which makes her 33% of the entire global child brides. So 1/3 of the entire world child brides is just in India. Imagine, just because of the sheer size of India's population. 17% of the men, they married before the age of 21 years. You can use these data in your means answer writing, the introduction and other things. Highest prevalence is around 41% in Bengal and roughly 0.1% in Kerala. Now tell me in the comment section, what is the reason why Kerala is having the minimum child marriages? It is fairly simple. Why Kerala is so progressive in this particular scenario? Tell me in the comment section, every one of you. The highest prevalence is found among the states like West Bengal, Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam and Rajasthan. Mostly this is among the rural background or the socio-economically weaker section of the society. Among them, this practice is more prevalent. Clear? Then what are the causes? Let's look at the main causes why this child marriage happens. First is your poverty. The poor families, they perceive early marriage as a reducing financial burden because the younger the girl is, the less dowry they have to give. Also, they see girl as a burden over them. They think that ladkiyan to paraya dhan hai. So as soon as we can marry them, we'll have the reduced burden of feeding her also. So poverty is one major reason. Then gender inequality. Girls are often viewed as an economic liability or burden in a family. Preference is given to boys for investing in their education over the girls. If any family can afford just one child's education, they will send the boy for the education into other city or some other university, not the girl. Lack of education. School dropout increases the vulnerability to early marriage, and there is absence of awareness about the rights because of lack of education. Now the girls and their family, they do not know the legal issues, the rights, all these things, the health implications of early marriage. Then comes the social and cultural norms. There are traditional beliefs which encourage early marriage. The concept of paraya dhan. Ladki to bihani hai, shaadi to honi hai. We can do it as soon as it is possible. Clear? Paraya dhan means someone else's asset. She has to go to someone else's house. Then safety concern. Sometimes early marriage is used as a perceived means of protecting daughters from sexual harassment or violence. But why should the girl suffer because somebody else has to do a crime? Why don't you stop the crime at first? Why don't you stop the boys from doing these activities? Why should the girls be punished because in the perspective, or you can say in the pretext of saying that, oh, we want to secure you, we want to take care of your safety, so we'll marry you. This is not a logical point. Then comes the weak enforcement of laws. There are illegal marriages which often continue due to poor implementation of laws. Example, mass child marriages, they are reported during the festival of Akshaya Tritiya or Akha Teej in Rajasthan. During the times of these festivals, a lot of mass child marriages happen. Recently, we have seen in this article that 5 such child marriages have been stopped by the agencies. But most of the time, the agencies are not as effective in controlling them. Most of the time they are, but sometimes they also lack. Clear? So these are some of the major reasons: your poverty, lack of education, lack of awareness of the rights, traditional and cultural norms, all these, and law enforcement. Clear? Then comes the impact. What impact does child marriage have on the girls specifically? There are health implications of the girls. Early pregnancy. After marriage, the girls face early pregnancy. It may lead to maternal mortality, infant mortality, malnutrition, anemia. 52% of women in India, they are anemic. That means they face deficiency of iron. So this issue further increases. Maternal mortality rate, it is very high in India as compared to the developed nations. Maternal mortality means that during the time of childbirth, the mother dies because of health complications, some issues. Yeah. Then you have educational loss. Marriage often leads to girls dropping out of school. Very few people are willing to send their daughter-in-laws to the educational institution. Otherwise, mostly what happens, if you are done marriage, then you sit home, you take care of the household. Economic consequences. Lower education of women leads to lower earning, lower and further intergenerational poverty. Your mother is less educated, it will translate into children being less educated also. There is a great, you can see there are multiple scenarios in this. We cannot have a prejudice that if a mother is not educated, the child will be not educated. There are a lot of examples when the mother are uneducated, still child ends up having good education. But there can be scenarios when mother is uneducated, child also remains uneducated. But you will not find a single scenario where mother is highly educated and the child remains uneducated. So this is a sure shot guarantee that if the mother is educated, they will make sure their child is also well educated. So that also happens. Women married early are less likely to participate in formal employment. And then you have gender-based violence. Child brides are more vulnerable to domestic violence, marital rape, and emotional abuse. Because the child brides, they also do not know the concept of consent. Nobody asks for their consent also, which leads to marital rapes. Then you have demographic consequences. Lower reproductive span, or you can say longer reproductive spans increases the fertility rate. That's why India's population increased so much. But right now, child marriages are reducing. That's why TFR is also reducing along with the education and awareness of the people also. Higher population growth in regions having high child marriage prevalence. This can be seen. Then you have violation of child rights. It violates the right of child for education, health, dignity, and equality. Clear? So child marriage, it robs children of their childhood and limits their future. These are some of the consequences or impact of child marriage. Now, what are the constitutional and legal framework provided for this? First, we will see the constitution. You have Article 14, which talks about equality before law, that everybody will be having equality. So child should also get their equality or their equal rights. You have Article 15, Clause 3, which has a special provision for women and children. That means Article 15.3 says that the government should not favor anybody based upon age, sex, and all these things. But 15 Clause 3 has a special exemption that yes, government for the upliftment of women and children, they can make special provision. For example, your political reservation, the bill has been, women reservation bill has been introduced. Similarly, other provisions can be made for the upliftment of children and women, specifically of low age, who are bonded in a child marriage. Then Article 21, right to life, it says right to life and dignity. Dignity here is an important term because in child to marriage, you can still have right to life, you are living your life, but is that life full of dignity? That has to be ensured. Article 39, Clause F, which is DPSP, Directive Principles of State Government. It talks about protection of childhood of children. Then Article 45, again DPSP, it talks about early childhood care and education. If you are doing early child marriage, then that childhood education is wiped out. And then you have legal frameworks in which you have POCSO Act, Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. Apart from this, you have Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006. Now, there are certain important clauses in this Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006. Your section 3, it says that declaration of child marriage as voidable. If, let's say, a child who is, or a girl, let's say, if she has attained the age of 18, after attaining the age of 18, within 2 years, she can file a case and she can declare her marriage as voidable. They can file petition up to 2 years after attaining majority. And if she says at the age of 19 that my marriage was done as a child marriage, I don't want to continue this marriage, this can be, it can be voidable. Section 4 says that mandatory maintenance and residence for the female who leaves as a child marriage. That whoever leaves the house or who leaves the marriage which was done as a child marriage, the government and has to provide maintenance and residence for her. Or you can say the men to whom she was married, they have to provide this compulsorily. Section 12 says child marriage involving minors taken or enticed away is automatically void. Any minor, if forcefully marriage has been done, it should be void. Then 73,000 child marriages are prevented in 2023-24 through community enforcement and legal interventions. So government is doing good work also here, but more needs to be done. It is not enough. Section 1011, they says that performs, conducts, abates child marriages, imprisonment of up to 2 years and fine of up to 1 lakh can be done if somebody is found doing child marriage. Section 16 says appointment of child marriage prohibition officer (CMPO) to prevent child marriage and counsel the parents about the harmful effects of child marriage. Clear? These are some of the provisions of this Act, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act 2006. Clear? So these were legal and constitutional measures to prevent this thing. Coming ahead, what are the schemes or policies of government in preventing girl-child marriage? First is Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, which promotes financial savings for girls' education and marriage. Basically, in Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, government says you invest every year some amount into the government scheme, and that amount will be given to the girl once she attains the age of 18. That can be used for her marriage, for her education. Clear? And good interest rate is given in this Sukanya Samriddhi scheme as compared to the let's say government FDs and other schemes. Then you have Balika Samriddhi Yojana, supports enrollment and retention of girls in school, focuses on education and vulnerable sections. Then Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, very famous slogan used by our PM, advocates for girl child safety and education, promotes women empowerment and inclusive ecosystem. Clear? Apart from this, you have Women Mission Shakti for women's safety and empowerment. You have Mission Vatsalya for child protection and welfare of those children. You have Poshan Abhiyan to improve the nutrition among the adolescent girls and mothers. In Project Abhiyan, Poshan Abhiyan, a lot of fortified food and nutrition is given to the pregnant lady and adolescent girls so that their health improves. Clear? See, these are some of the initiatives taken by the government in this regard. Then we will see some of the best practices which you can use in your exam as a case study. First is Odisha, where community vigilance committees have been created which were successful in preventing several child marriages. So you have community vigilance committees. This can be one case study from Odisha. From West Bengal, you have Kanyashri Prakalpa. This was a scheme of West Bengal government, Kanyashri Prakalpa, where they gave cash incentive for girls to continue education and delay marriage. Now, this scheme was also recognized by the United Nations Public Service Award. This scheme got United Nations Public Service Award. This was started by Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal. Clear? You can use these as a case studies in your answer writing. Then, what needs to be done? What is the way forward? Further, how we can improve the situation? Universal secondary education. Ensure that every girl, they complete at least education up to class 12th. It should be made compulsory throughout the country. Because if the girl till class 12th, what will she do? If government does not want or the society does not want her to marry till the age of 18, at least make sure that she studies till class 12th. Then economic empowerment of families, conditional cash transfer scheme linked to girls' education. Just like PM Kisan scheme, where the government is giving every year 6,000 rupees to a woman, agricultural woman for their agriculture input. Similarly, we can have conditional cash transfer for girls' education, that till the time the girl studies in school, every year government gives, let's say, 5,000, 6,000 or 10,000, whatever amount they want to give to those families. Strengthen law enforcement, improve monitoring through child marriage prohibition officers. This officers is a statutory position provided through this Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. So further, their ground implement and enforcement has to be improved. Community participation, just like in Odisha, has to be improved. Encourage panchayats, self-help groups and religious leaders to propagate against the child marriage. Use the help of these leaders whom the community listens to. Then skill development and employment, vocational training for adolescent girls to enhance economic independence. Once the girls becomes economic independence, they can have almost all of their rights. All of their rights of the girl are curtailed most of the times because they are not economically independent. They are dependent upon their husband and their in-laws' family. That's why all her rights are managed by those people. Then you have behavioral change campaigns through mass awareness through schools, media and civil society organizations, just like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao program was there. It was a behavioral change campaign. Clear? So all this has to be done to improve the still prevalent child marriages in India. We have to stop them, and these are some of the steps which government can take. What we as a human, we also have to take responsibility that if we see or encounter any such issue around us, we also can report. Clear? So attempt this question. Despite legislative measures, child marriage continues to persist in India. Examine the socio-economic factors responsible and suggest a comprehensive strategy to eliminate this practice. Make sure you write this answer. Coming to the mains value addition section, there is an article which says Niti Aayog suggests 50,000 crore fund for biotechnology growth in India. Now, what is biotechnology? It is a science-driven initiative sector that uses living organisms and their derivatives to produce different products and processes. For example, your bioethanol is a part of biotechnology. Your bioremediation, which happens to clean the environment, it is part of biotechnology. Different other vaccine development with the help of you can say live or weakened viruses, pathogens, that is also part of biotechnology. Your gene editing is part of biotechnology. All these things clear. So how we can use this in our mains answer writing or exam? It can be used in GS3 science and tech, where in the topics like role of biotechnology in India's development. Biotechnology is emerging as the fourth industrial revolution sector. There is a shift from pharmacy of the world. Now everyone of you must be aware that India is called the pharmacy of the world. Why? Because we are the lowest cost producer of the pharmaceutical drugs in the entire world. We produce pharmaceutical drugs with good standards and in the low cost, and then we export majority of them to the entire world. Our vaccine Maitri program was there in COVID-19 again, where we made a lot of COVID-19 vaccines and then we gave them to different countries. So from this pharmacy of the world, we will be shifting towards biotechnology innovation hub. This is our aim, that we should move towards that direction. And to make sure this happens, this fund is being proposed. Clear? To India to become biotechnology innovation hub. A proposed 50,000 crore bioeconomy growth fund to bridge the lab to market finance gap. Lab to market. Now, what is lab to market? That you can do a lot of innovation into the labs, but that product, what you are developing in lab, has to be commercially viable. For that, you require a lot of innovation, lot of marketing, lot of spending to that. For all this thing, this fund has been advised by Niti Aayog to the government. Now it can be used in agriculture answers also. In the topics like second green revolution. First green revolution happened in 1916s, which involved high yielding varieties of seeds and a lot of agriculture inputs, which increased the agriculture output of India. Now second green revolution which is being talked about, which is also called the evergreen revolution, which it is more sustainable. With limited inputs, how you can sustain your output. So biotechnology can help achieve climate resilient crops, your precision agriculture, biofertilizers, biopesticides, and there can be higher productivity with lower environmental footprints. Clear? All this can be done with the help of your biotechnology. Beet cotton, which is a hybrid variety of cotton, it is also part of biotech. Now beet brinjal was also introduced. A lot of other crops, gene editing and better productivity can be improved in them, provided proper clinical trials have been done, proper approvals have been taken. So it can be used there also. Apart from it, it can be used in economy answers, where bioeconomy can become a new pillar of economic growth alongside IT and digital services. So bioeconomy, biotechnology can become a new pillar of economic growth. High value biotechnology sectors, they generate skilled employment, high export potential will be there, just like pharma. Your intellectual property creation, import substitution will be there. The Niti Aayog projects India's bioeconomy could reach $691 billion by 2035, which is at present $137 billion. Or it was in 2022, right now it must be somewhere around $150 billion. From 150, it can reach up to $691 billion in the next 10 years. So the potential is huge. It is roughly 4 or 5 times in the next 10 years. It will create a lot of employment, and it can create over 30 million high value jobs. Clear? So in this particular scenario for biotechnology, government has also introduced a lot of biotech initiatives in India. For example, National Biopharma Mission, I3. What is this I3? I3 is Innovate in India. National Biopharma Mission, which talks about Innovate in India. It is a BIRAC-led industry academia partnership to accelerate indigenous biopharma manufacturing. BIRAC is your Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, which is part of Department of Biotechnology, which is a nodal agency to promote these initiatives. Clear? So National Biopharma Mission we have. Then we have Biotech Kisan, which connects scientific labs directly to the farmers to deploy innovative agri-tech solutions into their farms. Then you have Atal Jai Anusandhan Biotech Mission. Atal Jai Anusandhan Biotech Mission, again it focuses on producing biotech related pharma products which can help tackle the challenges of maternal health, antimicrobial resistance, vaccine and other clean technologies. Apart from it, we have One Health Consortium, which is a specialized surveillance network to monitor zoonotic and transboundary pathogens. Zoonotic are the diseases which we get from animals, just like COVID. So to monitor them, we have One Health approach. In One Health, we take care of three things: human health, animal health, and the environmental health. Everything is considered as One Health approach. Together, they are taken care of. A lot of biotech parks are created by the government, where government provides infrastructure like connectivity, innovation hubs, electricity, subsidies, where the companies can set up their premises and do innovation. And then you have large startup landscape in India, where the rapidly expanding ecosystem has more than 1,000 new startups in the year FY22. So the number of startups must have increased by now. So these are some of the initiatives which again you can use in your mains answer writing regarding biotechnology. Clear? Coming to the first topic of prelims pointer, it is regarding the diabetes. Now Alexander Zverev, he played the Grand Slam final a few days back in the Grand Slam Wimbledon, where Jannik Sinner defeated Alexander Zverev. Now Zverev also has type 1 diabetes right from childhood. So this article talks about how he tackles this type 1 diabetes and still he is maintaining a high level of physical fitness to compete right at the top of the tennis. In this regard, what we will see, what is diabetes and what are the different types of diabetes. See, diabetes is a chronic disease that occur when the pancreas can no longer make insulin, or the body cannot make good use of the insulin it produces. What is insulin? Insulin is a hormone that regulates blood glucose level. Here you have pancreas. In pancreas, this insulin is produced. This insulin regulates the blood sugar level. Now there are different types of diabetes. Somewhere the pancreas do not produce enough insulin. Sometimes it produces more insulin, but the body does not react according to it. So it does not regulate the blood sugar level. These things happen. So chronic disease with high blood sugar level due to ineffective insulin. Clear? And it occurs when pancreas is insufficiently produces large insulin related to which regulates blood sugar level, or cellular insulin resistance. The body cannot effectively use insulin it produces. Clear? Then you have hyperglycemia or high blood glucose level. It is a common result of uncontrolled diabetes and can damage nerve or blood vessels. Now, not being able to produce or use insulin effectively leads to raised glucose level. Your body produces a lot of glucose. Now it is regulated by insulin. If insulin is not there, the blood glucose will keep on increasing. It is known as hyperglycemia. Clear? Over the longer time, glucose levels are associated with failure of various organs and tissues. High blood sugar level or high glucose level, it will lead to failure of different tissues and organs within the body. So it is maintained by insulin. Diabetes is a major cause of blindness, kidney failure, heart attacks, stroke, and lower limb amputation. That means dysfunction of lower limbs. These are the issues related with diabetes. Now, what are the different types of diabetes? There are basically three types of diabetes. You have type 1 diabetes, you have type 2 diabetes, and you have gestational diabetes. So first we'll see what is type 1 diabetes. Your body is no longer able to produce insulin. There are certain beta cells within pancreas which produce insulin, but they are dysfunctional. Your immune system attacks those beta cells, doesn't allow them to produce insulin. That is your type 1 diabetes, through which Alexander Zverev is going through. Type 2 diabetes is when your body still produces insulin, but it does not make enough of it, or it is inefficient. Don't use it efficiently. The body doesn't use that insulin efficiently. That is your type 2 diabetes. अब insulin तो बन रहा है body में, but body is not using it. Now, type 1 diabetes, it usually develops during childhood, but can also develop at any age, but generally during childhood. So Zverev also had this type 1 diabetes right from childhood. Now, type 2 diabetes can develop at any age, but it is most common above the age of 45. So type 1 in childhood, type 2 in adulthood. Clear? Generally, type 1 diabetes happens because of family factors, the genetics. Type 2 diabetes happens because of overweight or inactivity, family history, or high blood pressure. There can be multiple reasons. So bad lifestyle is one of the reasons for type 2 diabetes, not type 1. Ye yaad rakhna. This difference is important. UPSC can ask these statements about these differences. What are the symptoms? Bedwetting, blurry vision, frequent urination, increased appetite and thirst, mood changes, irritability, tiredness and weakness, and unexplained weight loss. All these are symptoms of type 1. Type 2 also you have similar kind of this increased appetite, thirst. Now here you are lacking appetite, or basically weight loss is happening despite increased appetite. Here again you eat a lot of things and it keeps on raising your blood sugar level. Dark patches on armpits and neck, frequent urination, blurry vision, tiredness, weakness, and unexplained weight loss. Symptoms are largely similar in both the kind of diabetes. So very similar. Prevention is no non-prevention method. Healthy lifestyle can prevent you from type 2 diabetes. So all of you who sit every day and just study, you are not taking out some time for physical activity. In future, you can encounter this type 2 diabetes. So make sure every day, half hour, 1 hour, you take out for some physical activity. Insulin injections are given for treatment every few days. So, and in this article also, in this very article, it has explained how he takes regular insulin injections to make sure the body gets insulin hormone and it regulates the blood sugar level. Here, healthy living is the best treatment and possible insulin support from outside. Clear? Then, what is the gestational diabetes? It is hyperglycemia with blood glucose values above normal but below those diagnostic for the diabetes. Now it happens during pregnancy. So when pregnant women, sometimes they have high level of blood sugar, blood glucose, which leads to hyperglycemia and it leads to type of diabetes. But this diabetes here, the levels are not as high which are detected in regular diabetes. You have normal glucose in blood and normal insulin in case of normal pregnancy. But in case of gestational diabetes pregnancy, your glucose decreases, increased glucose in blood, or you can say increased insulin. Clear? So variations in the different levels of insulin glucose happens, which cause your gestational diabetes. Generally it happens in pregnant women. That much is important for us. Now what can be the exam traps in this particular scenario? Type 1 diabetes is mainly caused by obesity. Now this is wrong. It happens in childhood and it is largely because of family genetics. Clear? Type 2 diabetes is an autoimmune disease. Now again, autoimmune, it is wrong. It is type 1 diabetes, which is autoimmune, where your body eats up your beta cells producing the insulin. Clear? Type 2 is more about lifestyle. Gestational diabetes occur only after childbirth. Now this is wrong. It occurs during childbirth, during the pregnancy. Insulin is produced in the liver. Wrong. It is produced in pancreas. Type 1 diabetes can usually be managed without insulin. Now this is wrong. It is managed with insulin injection from outside. Clear? Coming to the second topic of President's Pointer, it is regarding FCRA. Now new parliament session is going to take place, the monsoon session, where they will take up bills. For example, the amendment to FCRA Act. The government has listed the Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill, which was introduced during the budget session of the parliament but was not passed at that time. Clear? So what is the FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act? FCRA 2010 Act is an internal security legislation for the security of the country designed to regulate the acceptance and utilization of foreign donations by individuals, associations and companies in India. I'll tell you in easy language. Basically, there are a lot of NGOs working in India. These NGOs, they get a lot of funding from outside also. For example, you have Amnesty International. Amnesty International also has an Indian branch. Amnesty International gives fund to this amnesty, and similarly a lot of environmental NGOs are there in India. They get funding from the different environmental groups in the world, so they protest against any environmental project. Now what government says, what government alleges, that a lot of these NGOs, they are specifically set up just to make sure that the development of India does not take place. They hamper the development. So we will regulate the foreign contributions they are getting, and we will see how this money is being utilized, whether the NGO is working properly or they are just disrupting the government activities. So this is what FCRA bill is. It was first Parliament expressed concern regarding the foreign power influence in India's developmental activities or the India's internal matters in 1969. Then in 1976, for the first time, FCRA Act came up. Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 1976 was enacted during the time of emergency. Then in 2010, a new FCRA 2010 Act to consolidate the law for utilization of foreign funds and prohibit the use of their activities to determine national interest. This was brought in. Now what happened after that? The FCRA Act 2010 for tighter control and scrutiny of receipt was there. Again in 2020, amendment was done. There were amendments to the FCRA 2010 was done in 2016, 2018, 2020. Then you have different FCRA rules also, and now the government is coming with another FCRA amendment bill 2026. Now it is administered by Ministry of Home Affairs. That means Mr. Amit Shah, the Home Minister, he is the head of this particular thing, FCRA. Objective is to ensure that the foreign funds do not adversely affect India's sovereignty, security, public interest, or democratic institutions. That means foreign institutions or foreign players' role should not be there within India's internal matters. Who needs registration? Your NGOs, associations, and different trusts who receive foreign contribution all have to register under the FCRA Act. The validity of registration is 5 years and it is renewable every 5 years. Clear? Just have a look. I think some rules and amendments might have said that this FCRA registration or renewability has to be done every year. Or keep an eye over this latest amendment bill which will be presented in Parliament. Look at the draft bill, what government is saying, or if they make it as an act, then see in how many time they have to renew it every interval. Clear? Then FCRA Amendment Act 2020, there are some key changes in it. It prohibits transfer of foreign contribution to another FCRA registered organization. For example, if I as an NGO received some foreign funds, I cannot give those funds to some other NGO who also receives funds from foreign. So if I have received funds, I have to utilize them on my own. Reduce the administrative expense limit from 50 to 20%. This is to make sure that sometimes what happens, let's say I am an NGO, now I employ 50% from my family in that NGO, I give them just salaries from that. So that money is now being distributed somewhere else for administrative purposes. Government says that the money you are getting, that should be used in that purpose also on ground. Maximum 20% should be the limit that can be spent on administrative expense. So this is a good step. Then you have mandatory Aadhaar identification for office bearers of the NGO. They made opening an SBI New Delhi main branch account mandatory. They said that in the New Delhi branch of State Bank of India, you have to open a mandatory account and all the contribution will come into this branch so that government can have a look over these contributions, from where they are coming, where they are being used, all this thing. Who cannot receive foreign contribution? Any candidate going through election, member of parliament and MLAs, political parties and other government office bearers, judges, government servants, journalists working with specified media organizations. All these, they cannot receive any fund. Only normal NGOs and other organizations, they can receive. What are the key changes which are proposed in the FCRA Amendment Bill 2026? Registration ends automatically if renewal is not applied or denied or expired. You have a designated authority control who takes over the foreign funds and assets after cancellation surrender. Basically, this is the main issue. This is the main issue of contention between the opposition parties, pressure groups, NGOs and the government. This is that there will be a designated authority control. Authority will be there. If your registration is cancelled, all the property and assets you are having, they will be taken over by this authority. But these NGOs are saying that who are you to take over our property? If let's say you have cancelled our license, fine, we cannot work in the country, but at least do not take over our assets. So this is a valid argument. Then temporary plus permanent vesting of powers, that there are provisions that this property which is taken over by this authority, they can be returned back or not, all those. There is expanded ban on foreign funds that applies to any person in politics, judiciary and media. They cannot receive funds. There is a reduced penalty. Jail term has been cut from 5 years to 1 year. This is a good step to promote, you can say, reduce the effect of criminal laws in India. Sometimes these jail provisions, they prohibit a lot of good activities. Some persons think that what happens that by mistake, if I do some mistake, I'll end up being in jail for 5 years. So they prohibit a lot of good activities. So that's why these jail terms are being reduced. And government approval for investigation mandatory before initiating any probe regarding any NGO. Government approval has to be taken. Yes, these are some of the changes. Keep an eye over it in future. Now, what can be the exam traps? FCRA is administered by Ministry of Finance. This is wrong. Ministry of Home Affairs administer, is it? FCRA registration is valid for 10 years. No, it is for 5 years. Or keep an eye if there is some change. Administrative expenses can be up to 50%. Wrong. This can be up to 20% only. Foreign contribution can be received in any commercial PSU bank account. Now this is wrong. They can be received only in SBI bank account, that to the branch in New Delhi. Clear? And the political parties can receive foreign contribution under FCA. This is wrong. They cannot receive. Any person involved in the politics or election, they cannot receive any funding. Fine. So these were some of the exam tests regarding to FCRA. Coming to the next topic, it is regarding Jagannath Rath Yatra in Puri, where 2 people were died because of stampede and crowd mismanagement. Now, this is a 12th century Sri Jagannath temple in Puri, Odisha, during the pulling of chariot on the occasion of annual Rath Yatra. In Rath Yatra, there basically 3 different Raths are created for 3 different gods, and those chariots are pulled by people in this festival. Now have a look in detail. It is an ancient Hindu festival that commemorates the annual journey of Lord Jagannath, Lord Balabhadra and Goddess Subhadra from Jagannath temple to the Gundicha temple in Puri, Odisha. Now what happens? This Jagannath temple, it was considered, now these are mythological stories which says that this Jagannath temple was the home to these 3 goddesses, this goddess Subhadra and Lord Jagannath and Balabhadra. They were siblings. Goddess Subhadra, she had to go to her aunt's house, which was Gundicha temple. Now when she wanted to go to the aunt's house, these 2 of her siblings, Lord Jagannath and Lord Balabhadra, they accompanied her at that time. So that movement from Jagannath temple to Gundicha temple, that is celebrated every year through this Rath Yatra. Now 3 different Raths are created. You have Lord Jagannath Rath having 16 wheels, Lord Balabhadra Rath having 14 wheels, and Goddess Subhadra Rath having 12 wheels. Different wooden pieces are used to create these wheels, and it is the highest one, Lord Jagannath, then Lord Balabhadra, and then the smallest one is Goddess Subhadra's chariot or Rath. And their colors are red and yellow, red and black, red and green. These are different Raths created in different colors. You need not go into this much detail about them. Mostly we have to know about the Lord Jagannath temple. This is important with respect to art and culture. Now the present Jagannath temple was built by 12th century king Anantvarman Chandogaya Deva. Clear? So he built this temple, popularly known as the Festival of Chariots, because the deities travel in 3 grand wooden chariots from one place to another. It is celebrated in the Ashadya month of the Hindu calendar. This happens in June, July on the Dvitya, second day of Shukla Paksha, if I am pronouncing right. This Shukla Paksha is basically the time when new moon happens. Clear? New moon happens on the second day of this. The route is from Jagannath temple to Gundicha temple, which is roughly 3 kilometers, and these temples are basically carried by humans. They pull these temples from one temple to another. This is an annual festival. One more belief is that at this time the Lord, the God, they comes out of the temple, and anybody, earlier, see, if you know the history of the caste system in India, the lower caste people, they were not allowed to go inside the temple. But what happens when the God himself comes out of the temple? Anybody can meet God, visit God, or whatever the belief they have. So that's why it is considered as a festival, and lakhs of people come to this pulling off or the chariot festival. See, you can look at the crowd in this festivals. The duration is roughly 9 days, followed by the Bahudya Yatra, which is the return journey back. The unique feature of this is that deities are brought outside the temple, allowing everyone, irrespective of caste or religion, to have a darshan. Clear? So it shows the secular characteristic of this festival. One of the Char Dham pilgrimage site is this Puri, along with Badrinath, Dwarka and Rameshwaram. Badrinath in the north, Dwarka in the west, Rameshwaram in the south, and this Puri in the east. These are the 4 Char Dham Yatras of India. And this Jagannath temple is also known as White Pagoda, designed in the Kalinga style of architecture. Now, Kalinga style of architecture is a very important concept for you in the art and culture. Make sure you have a look at this. Also tell in the comment section which temple is called as the Black Pagoda. Fine. Moving ahead, what can the exam test? Yath Yatra is celebrated in Chaitra month. This is wrong. It is not celebrated in Chaitra. It is celebrated in Ashadha month. Clear? Then the procession starts from the Gundicha temple. Again, this is wrong. It ends at Gundicha temple, and then there is return back also. It starts from Jagannath temple. Jagannath temple is located in Bhubaneswar. This is wrong. It's located in Puri. Rath Yatra is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Again, this is wrong. It is not a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is proposed to be among the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage, you can say, sites, but it is not right now. Clear? So these can be some of the exam traps. Coming to the last topic of today's discussion, it is regarding Argentina's Falkland banner. Now what is Falkland Islands? Now these were in news because recently England versus Argentina football FIFA World Cup semi-final match was there, and it was a heated match because they have a history of fight between these two countries. Why this fight is happening? Now you look at this. This is South America's map. You see South America map में you have Argentina here. On the near the roughly around 500 kilometers to the coast of Argentina, you have these Falkland Islands. Okay? Islands of Falkland. Now they are also known as Malvinas Island. Falkland and Malvinas Island. It is an internally self-governing overseas territory of United Kingdoms, UK. So Argentina says that we have the right to this territory. This territory should be under our control. But UK, from way above, they says that no, we will control this Falkland Islands. We are the, you can say, colonizer of these Falkland Islands. So this is the issue. Argentina and UK both are claiming over this. Now the islands are self-governing, although the foreign affairs and defense matters are handled by the British government. So they have their own government, which is appointed in the name of British Crown. They maintain all their internal affairs, but just the foreign affairs and your defense is maintained by the United Kingdoms. There are two main islands. One is your East Falkland and West Falkland Island. East Falkland and West Falkland separated by the Falkland Strait, which is also called Falkland Sound, together with 776 small islands, and the capital and the major town is Stanley. Clear? On the eastern Falkland Island, your Stanley as the capital. What is the economy? Largely they are dependent on fisheries, sheep warming for wool, your tourism, offshore oil and gas exploration also. Now you have a lot of hydrocarbon exploration also going on here. This is also one of the reasons why both of the countries do not want to leave this. If you look at this Falkland Island, this is your East Falkland, this is your West Falkland. Here you have Stanley, which is the capital of Falkland Islands. Clear? You have this Falkland Sound, which is also called Falkland Strait, separating the two land masses. It is of strategic importance. Rich fishing ground, potential offshore hydrocarbon reserves are found here. It is an important location in South Atlantic. So whenever in case of, let's say, future fight, and also UK has a base in South Atlantic also. That's why they do not want to leave this. Now what is the history of this Falkland Island? At various times the island have been, they were held by French, British, Spanish and Argentine settlements. But the Britain, they reasserted its rule in 1883 over these Falkland Islands, 1833. Then you had Falkland Wars in 1982. Where the Argentinian forces, they temporarily occupied the islands, but the British administration was restored in 2 months. Roughly in 74 days, the British won the war against the Argentine, and leading to the end of Falkland Wars, and the British again recaptured the Falkland Islands. That's why there is always a heated history between England and Argentina. But the most Falklanders, they favor the archipelago to remain a UK's overseas territory. Now here roughly you have 3,500 people residing here. Mostly they are English speaking people residing here. Now a referendum took place few years back in Falkland Island, where majority of the population, more than 90%, they voted to remain within the part of United Kingdoms and overseas territory of United Kingdom. Why? These people, they thought if we'll be part of Argentina, they'll like to rule us. But right now they are being ruled as an independent nation, almost as an independent nation. Just two matters, foreign affairs and defense is in the hand of UK. Rest they are self-governed. तो मतलब पूर्ण स्वराज नहीं है इनके पास, स्वराज तो है. They do not want to give this स्वराज also. Clear? So what can be the exam traps? Falkland Islands lie in the South Pacific Ocean. Now this is wrong. They lie in the South Atlantic Ocean. They are an independent sovereign country. This is wrong. They are not independent sovereign country. They are not sovereign because their affairs are held by or dealt by UK. The capital is Buenos Aires. This is wrong. Buenos Aires is capital of another important country. Tell me in the comment section, Buenos Aires is the capital of which country? The islands are administered by Argentina. This is wrong. They are administered by UK. The Falkland War took place in 1917. Again, this is wrong. It took place in 1982. Clear? So these can be some of the exam traps. With this, we come to end to today's discussion. Make sure you guys write the answer, and whatever I asked you questions, tell them in the comment section. I'll see you again in the next discussion. Thank you.